Good morning. Well, actually, not. I'm sick. I have some bug and my feet are cold as ice, and it's 6 in the morning, and the doctor doesn't open for a couple of hours. So, what did I think I would do? I thought I would pick up my phone and do a little work on FamilySearch. And I want you to see this. I've done it before. I'll do it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Extractions are bad. What is an extraction? And first off, we're working in FamilySearch. What is an extraction? A document has been scanned in, digitized, and is available on FamilySearch. And so, say it's a census, and the census record has your family members in it, but it also has maybe a couple of hired farmhands or some sort of household servant or someone that isn't identifiable as a family member. Nothing has been written in on the census itself identifying who that person is, juxtaposed to the larger family unit represented in that census. There are two things you can do. One is you can use that record to create a person with all of that corresponding information, right? So the hired hand, Joe Smith, gets created as Joe Smith with a birth year, birthplace, because those are usually in the census. Very rarely are they left out. And then the place and time where the person is living, 1900, Iola, Allen County, Kansas. And you create the person with all of that information, and that person ends up being free floating in the FamilySearch space unless and until somebody else hooks up with that version of him and merges it with a duplicate of him that maybe has some more information, maybe even a family member of Joe Smith. That's called extraction. The other thing that you can do is leave it alone. Okay? If you don't know what you're doing in FamilySearch, and even if you do, even if you feel comfortable, the second option is the option to follow. Why? Okay, let's take a look at Ellen Baker. I have just merged a lot of versions of Ellen Baker. Sometimes she showed up as Ellen Davies. Sometimes she showed up, or Davis, depending. And sometimes she showed up as Ellen Baker. But it is always the same person. And that is because there were a series of documents that were independently from one another extracted, as opposed to somebody working on Ellen Baker or on her husband David and pulling each one of these documents and adding them to one single version of Ellen and David and then adding in their kids. These are all records that were birth or baptism records for their children. So as it turned out, there were a ton of Ellens married to a ton of Davids with a bunch of individual children, some of those individual children being represented twice independently in two different records. Okay, so you see what I'm saying? They're coming from a record with mom, dad, and child name on it. And then somebody just went in, blew up that record into three people, and then walked away. And that's it. That's not how we build a tree. You go from a person, and you add by adding records to that person, and you create new people from the records that you find, like census, like vital records, and you keep adding each record on to the appropriate person like yet another layer of paint. Think about it the way that I say so often. You've got a black wall, you want it to be neon yellow. What does it take to get there? Maybe 2 coats of Kills, but if you're working in just black, white, and neon yellow paint, you got a lot of coats of white paint before you can completely smother out all that black. And then you've got a couple of layers of neon yellow paint in order to make that a truly neon yellow wall that has no other shades or shadows showing through. And in my representation, the black wall is that in which there is little or no information. And then the neon yellow wall is the most perfected version of that person that you can possibly create, that has all the vital records, all the census records, all the military records, anything, all the church records, all of the religious records of any kind that you can find that correspond to that person and that build out that person's entire lifelong timeline. So I have not done the thing that's going to show you exactly how bad this was. All of the Ellen Bakers are merged. So now we're going to see how many versions of her husband there are. Okay, so prepare. Here we go. I tap the little semi-hamburger menu, the 3-dot menu in the upper right-hand corner, and I'm going to refresh this person. That's going to take a minute, and I may have to do it a couple of times because there we go. Little wheel is turning. Look at how many versions of her husband there are. This is how many times Ellen Baker and David Davis were created out of a birth record for one of their children. Let's count how many Davids there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'm sliding up. 10, 11, 12, 13 different versions of one person. This is very, very bad. This is bad. And also, no, don't do it. Okay, so now what do we do, right? We've gotten to the point where I've merged off camera, unbeknownst to anyone, all of those versions of Ellen. So now I need to merge all of the versions of David. Here we go. I go to the top of the list, and you can see each person has an independent FSID, or Family Search Identification Number. It's after the word deceased in the listings for David Davis. So you can see they're all each different people, right? But the thing is, they're the same person because they have corresponding marriage dates to Ellen Baker, and because all of the children listed from the various vital records that were exploded open into the Family Search space, or were extracted, were born after the marriage date. So I know this is right. These kids, mom and dad actually were married in Cheshire in England, and their kids were born in various places. So here we go. I'm going to tap on the top David Davis. Now you can see right there, this particular David, there are no children listed, which means that this David was created with a record that shows the marriage date of 13 February 1809 in Acton, Cheshire, England. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to correct this. Why? Because it's not 13 Feb, it's 13 February. That's number one. Come on. Sorry, I have multiple things conflicting on the screen at once. So that's the approved date format. The second is there are spaces between commas and words, always. And as of 1801, England wasn't just England, it was the United Kingdom. That happened under Victoria. So here we go. Or was it right before Victoria? Well, anyway, still, you have to know what's right. And the way to tell is, here are the drop downs. We have a village 1801 to the present that has United Kingdom included. If I nicked United Kingdom out and it just said Acton, Cheshire, England, it would say up to 1801 as a correct date for that place name. But we know that this is 1809 when they were married. So we want to give them the correct place name. So I'm adding United Kingdom. That is correct. And then I'm saving it. So number one, cleaning up formats on what's there. Now I'm going to back arrow one and go back to David's profile. Number two for David is we don't, you can see the little blue dot with the kind of rectangle paper thing looking thing in it next to David Davis's blank blue face in his blank blue circle. That little tiny blue dot means there are hints for him. We're ignoring that for right now because those hints probably pertain to those other versions of David, and we're going to merge all these versions. So what do we do next? And I apologize if the sound fades a little, but I am cross-eyed even wearing my trifocals, and I need desperately to see this. I think this may be showing me on camera as well. I apologize for that. I am sick in bed. No one should see me right now. Okay, so here we go. How do we find these duplicates? They were all listed under Ellen Baker as her spouses, right? So what we do is we're looking for duplicates. We go to the triple dot in the upper right-hand corner, tap on it, and we get possible duplicates. It's pulling them all up one by one. Bam, bam, bam. See, bam, 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 all married to Ellen Baker. So what we're doing is we're evaluating them one at a time. We're going to go with review merge for this first one. And it's going to say, you sure you want to do this? Absolutely, I want to do this. You kidding me? Now we've got Ellen Baker. Now we're going to look at this and see where this record comes from. I'm not really sure. I'm going to yes, continue. Is it a marriage record? Yes, it is. It's the same marriage record. 13 February 1809, Acton, Cheshire, England, United Kingdom. We don't need to keep the near Nantwich. That's not going to do any good in the format. So we're not replacing the left with the into the right. We're going to just leave it as is and just merge these two. So we say yes, we're going to continue. And then all we have to say is most vital relationships match, which is true. These two are showing as spouses, and it is the same marriage date and marriage place. So we know they're the same people being represented in two separate documents. Probably one was civil and one was religious. I don't know. And honestly, at the moment, it doesn't really matter. So here we go. There. I've tapped this upper right hand of the four possible options that have add underneath them. I tapped the upper right hand version because what we're saying is basically, okay, so it looks like pretty much everything matches and that's good. And then we're going to tap on the word merge. And there you go. And so now we do it again. We're going to continue the merge. We're going to look. Now, the record on the left shows a child. The record on the right does not, record on the right does not. The person on the right does not. The record that created these two spouses, 2 times now, they were marriage records. But now that there's a child involved, we know that it was a child's record that created mom and dad. It was all extracted for the benefit of creating Mary Davis. They made sure that when doing the full extraction, they extracted mom and dad's names. And that's the right way to do it. You should put all the parents and everything in if you have that information. But the fact is, it's not right to extract records. It's very, very bad. Creates situations like this. And granted, I'm talking a lot, which is making it take a lot longer. But it took me, 5-7 minutes to get all this together and to merge all the versions of Ellen Baker. What a hot mess that was. So here we go. You can see also on the left-hand side where it says deleted person, in addition to Mary being there, what we have is a record showing that it was a birth or christening, and that was the file grouping from which Mary Davis's existence was noted and recorded. So we're going to say yes to this. We're going to continue, and then we're going to carry over anything that's new. We want to keep the marriage. We're carrying over automatically, the software does it, Mary as the daughter, and the record of Mary's birth or christening. And then we're just going to say continue. And then we say most vital relationships match, because they do. And pardon me while I get a little tissue here. The fun part of being ill. And then I hit merge. Okay, now as soon as the gray has popped up, the gray box has popped up, and all the information is in line and everything stops moving on the screen, you're ready to go and review the merge of the next person. So let's look at the next David. Yes, we want to continue. Now this shows another child named Anne. They were married in 1809, right? Mary was born in 1809. Anne was born in 1812. Here we go. We're going to continue, and let's see what the record was that created Anne. There isn't one. But I would rather merge and have somebody else take care of it later if it's wrong than to mess with it being wrong, right, and leaving it floating out there in the middle of space in FamilySearch. You see what I'm saying? So what we want to do right now is just continue to merge. We're going to say most of it matches, because the parental names do correspond with one another, and we go to the next. Here's David, and now here's another version of Mary. Same Mary, probably. We'll see. In which case, we'll have to merge those Marys. Mental note. Here we go. Yes, continue. Let's go with David, spouse Ellen, and its spouse Ellen Davis, which frequently happens, right? Women aren't always noted to be like their own human beings. And so in birth records, even if they are mom, they are not given their maiden names, they are given their married names. So not a big surprise. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing. Continue, most vitals, correspond, and merge. We'll hash that out a little later. So now we know, in addition to Ellen Baker, there is an Ellen Davis. No matter what, they're all going to show up as spouses of David's, and all of David's children, there are going to be some duplicates in there, including Mary. So, okay, fine. Let's go to the next review merge. Continue merge. And the way that I do this is I keep it in my mind, right? I need to keep it in my mind. So it's this kind of spider web thinking that you need as you roll through, thinking, all right, what's the next thing that I have to do? So the marriage, this is not a marriage record for Ellen and David, right? This is a record of the birth of their child. So there is no information to replace for their marriage. So we bypass that. A new Anne is being added over for 1812. It looks like it is the same Anne that's already there. Separate record. One was probably, as I say, church. The other one was probably civil. That's fine. We're just going to rock it. And we're going to say most vitals correspond, which they do. And go to the next one. Bam. Okay. Next, review merge. Continue merge. What have we got? David, Ellen, and yet another version of Anne. So it looks like there are 3 different extractions on Anne. Hot mess, hot mess, hot mess. So we're going to have some merges on her. And you never leave this behind unless and until you can and do merge everybody in the family grouping. Never leave this stuff half done unless you make yourself a note and you say go back into FSID number such and so and continue to do all of the merges of the children or of the spouse or both, whatever. But it's very, very important because this is an international, one world type of tree where there should be one version of every person in place for one version, each version of each person who lived on the planet. You don't want to have 5 versions of one person hanging fire in FamilySearch, because chances are pretty good somebody's going to latch onto it. They're going to attach their family. Things are going to turn into an even worse mess. Always, when you find a mess, clean it up completely. Otherwise, the bugs come and get at it. Yes, the rats, the mice. We don't want that. Okay, we've got another version of Mary born in 1809. Quelle surprise! What have we got? Oh, goody. There's another version of Mom, too. So we're going to have more merges to do for Mom. I already did a bunch of merges for Mom, so this is really going to be scary. And sooner or later here, I'm just going to stop talking and I'm just going to keep doing. Just want to make sure going in this, though, that you actually, I'm not talking too fast. I'm not talking past you, but that you see what's going on here. Okay, there's a Maria born in 1821. That's entirely possible. Women gave birth for decades before they stopped giving birth. So I'm just going to go ahead and add it because it's Ellen Baker and it's David Davis. And we don't see in this view for Maria where she was born. We'll hassle that out later. Now, someone or other or many might disagree with me and might not do all of these merges. I will do them all at once and I will untangle things if necessary. I had an untangle recently that I created, the tangle that I created. It's the next podcast episode. It's about how it's possible to go into something in your tree with confirmation bias, which basically means you think you're right, you're looking to be supported in your rightness, but then it's possible that you find out you're wrong. And somebody called me on something and found me to be wrong. And it was very good and very exciting because anytime something can be right, that is more important than any ego, right? So that's the thing. So now we got Elizabeth, 1823. Yeah, okay. And are we showing a record? We're not showing a record that's a source. Okay. I could be saying this record contains little information. At this moment, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other to me. It doesn't really matter. I just want to get these merges done. and start to address whether these are the same people, whether these children are all children of the same set of parents, or whether there happen to be two sets of parents someplace with these names, same names. That happens. Now this says that his name is Davis instead of David Davis. We're going to look at it, see what happens. John 1825. I'm going to do the merge. Let's see if there's any documentary reason for this. Looking on the left. Nope, no document. But I'm going to go ahead and say for the moment. Okay, here's what we hope. This is the last one of his. And here's John again. 1825. And then we're going to start to look at, okay, so now what we've done is we have corrected everything that we can for him. We've merged all possible duplicates of him. Now let's go back out. Now we're going to refresh. And it's going to take a minute because the signal has to get from the living room to my bedroom with my ice cold feet. Okay, now let's look at these people that I don't really have any. Acton near Nantwich, Cheshire. Okay, Maria, even though she's born in 1821 and mom and dad were married in 1809, looks to me like it is the same person. Let's look at parents. Actually, let's back arrow it. And let's look at John. He was born in 1825. That's a ways out from 1809. What's his story? Where was he born? Acton near Nantwich. That's where he was christened. So, okay. That means we're going to back arrow. We need to merge all of these three spouses, and then we need to merge all of the children who correspond to one another. Whee! So I'm going to be quiet, and I'm just going to do it, okay? Watch, learn, have fun, be annoyed, do you. Now, I copied the ID from one of Ellen, so I'm going to pop it in there, and I'm going to see. She still exists? Yep, there she is. And we are keeping Ellen Baker because that's her maiden name. And there are multiples of her husband. You can tell because it says preferred spouse. And then there are some kids. If you click on the up arrow, you see there are two. So we want David and David to be merged. Copying his ID, going to the other one, going to the three dots, possible duplicates. It doesn't pull him up. I add that other David Davis's information I had done, pulls him up. Cheshire, 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 Cheshire. Yep, looks like it. And we want to make sure that we get England in there. Oh boy, this is gonna be ugly. So, David, we want to add the marriage. There's the marriage. All the children are adding over. You see, because I reversed them in the lineup. The two versions of David. Now, what have we got going on? Let's go ahead. No, that's not what I meant to do. Sorry. And we're going to refresh him. See if there are any other versions of his wife Ellen there. There aren't. Hot diggity. Now we need to merge the kids. You see why extractions are bad and why they stopped doing them? They were done in 2012. I don't know why. And then they stopped doing them, and I'm pretty sure this is why, because hot mess. We have three versions of Mary Davis. And all three versions show the same parents with the same FSIDs, right? So probably if I tap on the top one and I look for possible duplicates, it's going to pull the other two up. Let's see what happens. Okay. Possible duplicates. 1, 2. Good deal. Here we go. Look at that. Same information. And it's, again, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other about the christening date format. I will correct that later. And again, same christening information. You look at the top one and the bottom one. So we're just going to do the same. Okay. Mary is now done. Let's look at Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad have 3 versions of Anne. Anne. Details. Acton by Nantwich. I'm looking at all 3 Annes just to make sure. Acton by Nantwich. And the bottom Anne of the 3. Acton by Nantwich or near Nantwich in Cheshire. So same deal. 3 dots. Possible duplicates. We should pull 2. 1, 2. They both pull. Let's go to the first one. Continue the merge. Okay. And we want to, and again, same place, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going to clean the format anyway. But the source adds over, and that's good. So now we've got the source substantiating who she is. Slightly cooler of a mess than it was before, but still fairly hot. So 2 of these came out of, they weren't even extractions. I don't even know where they came from because there's no source record for 2 of these versions of Anne. And the same thing was true for her sister Mary. So I don't even know how this happened. But the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into christening now that I've cleaned her up. Acton, Cheshire, England, United Kingdom is the correct format. 23 August is the correct format. And save. Go to her parents and let's look at Mary. Let's do the same thing. Don't want to leave Mary behind. Let's clean the date. Let's clean the place. And we go back to the parents. So now we got Mary, we've got Anne, we've got Ellen. We've got Maria, we've got Elizabeth, and we've got John. Okay, so Ellen, let's take a look at Ellen. What is her story, I wonder? There she was born, and she's the one who comes into my family line because she came to the United States. Birth name Ellen Davies in all caps? Yeah, that's crap. We're getting rid of that. Why? Because who cares? It's all there. Plus, she had a middle initial L. And I'm leaving the reason why. That's fine. I just took out the punctuation because I'm a perfectionist. And there is no punctuation in genealogy. So, let's look back at her parents. She came from the 1841 census. Okay, so that makes a little bit of sense. I saw that. I don't know if you caught that, but at the very bottom of the screen that was there. So now we're going to leave that behind. Ellen is done. Let's look at the 2 versions of Maria. Huh, interesting. Dad is not there in her parents. Interesting. Okay, so we're going to back arrow for a minute. Here's Dad. I want to pull his ID. I want to go to Maria. I want to go to her parents. And since her dad wasn't there, we're going to add him in. Add spouse. Add by ID. Add that ID. Done. And continue. There we go. I don't know if this is a duplicate again of Ellen or what. We're going to find out. Whew-fa. Okay, that's good. Now we're going to do the merges of Maria. Actually, it's merge because there's only the one version. And you can see mom and dad are the same, and the christening dates and places are the same. Review the merge, continue the merge. Yes. No record. Most vitals are good. And then we're going to clean up the format and then move on to her next sibling. So deets, and then the christening. Clean that, clean that. And all we're doing with these formats is we're putting them in the format that is best liked by FamilySearch. It's not that there's anything inherently bad about it necessarily. It is that we want everything to agree on FamilySearch. So, and you can see there are some hints for her because there is the tiny blue circle next to her pink face and pink circle. But I'm not going to mess with that right now because I got other things on my agenda. I'm going to go to her parents, and we're going to look at the next sibling in the line. That is 2 versions of Elizabeth, and we want to double check her facts. There's her Acton, Cheshire, and then we're going to go to the second Elizabeth, Acton, Cheshire. So we're just going to go to possible duplicates, pull that duplicate, make sure that the information corresponds. It does. Review merge, continue merge. Yes, they are the same person. Formatting at the moment doesn't matter. We will fix that. There is no source record. And then we're going to back up, and we're going to go to this christening, and we're going to clean up the format. And there are more records for her, but we're not playing with that right now. We're just going to the next thing, which is to merge the 2 versions of John Davis that are in the... We want to double check. Both are the same guy. Yep. Same facts corresponding. Possible duplicates. It pulls in. Let's take a look. Same christening date, same place, same parents. That is the same fella. Do the merge, go down to the bottom. No source record. Don't know how that came about. But we know that everything that's there in terms of timing, dates, relationships, is identical between the 2. So that's what we cite. And then we're going to just clean formats right here. This ability to clean formats very quickly is why I like the phone app so much. It takes much, much longer to do this online. There are other things that you can do in FamilySearch online that are harder to do on the phone. This is the kind of stuff that I can do while I have the news on in the background, seriously. And it makes my ability to contribute to this international, family tree so much better. So here we go. We've got mom, dad, we've got 1 version of each of the children. And now if I choose to, I can take some time and actually work on the individual hints for the individual children. So there it is. That right there is I think a very eloquent way of expressing that extractions are bad. If you're working in a census or another set of records for people in your family, and there are people who are mentioned who are not known to you, who are not known to the family, who are not members of the family, who are not tied by genes or by marriage, people who are living there because they are renting a room, because they are servants in the household, because they are hired hands. In a marriage record, if it says other, frequently what it means about other is it was a witness, and unless you can see who it was in the family, don't add it to the person. Don't create a new person. And the other that's there is frequently a county clerk or a minister or a preacher or some kind of other religious or civil celebrant. Don't extract those people. Very, very bad to extract those people. I mean, it would be interesting to me in a way to extract all of the officiants and all of the records that I found for marriages and see if I can match up within a location all the different people who got married by this same minister, this same officiant. But even though FamilySearch is probably the best place to do that, it's still not a good idea. There are other ways to handle that. And I've done that. And someday at some point I will talk to you about finding the person who officiated at a marriage in my family, because it was a marriage location and 2 different religions coming together in a way that was kind of interesting, that it was unanticipated. And I wanted to know more about the person who was the officiant and why my great great grandparents, great grand, yeah, great great grandparents, I think chose to marry in that way. But this is not a place for a science project. This is a place for finished work. And I would have to say that of all the science projects that are out there, which could have any kind of outcome because they are science, this is the worst place to do extractions. Extractions are potentially science experiments that explode. So don't do that. I hope that you guys are feeling well and doing well and that everything's okay. And this is a long, long recording. I apologize for that. But I hope that you're doing well, and I will talk to you guys soon, okay? Thanks a lot for hanging on for the ride. Bye.